Alec, get out! Do it!
Darwin, also known as Armando Munoz, was one of the most powerful mutants in the X-Men universe, and he is certainly an underrated character who often goes unnoticed in the franchise. He has quite a fascinating mutant power, which enables him to adapt to any condition and even change his physical appearance in order to survive just about any situation. He was first introduced in the X-Men Deadly Genesis comic storyline that is set in the aftermath of the House of M story arc. Darwin also has an intriguing backstory, and today we'll have a look at this character and tell you all about his physiological details and powers. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What is Darwin's fascinating mutant power? Darwin essentially had the ability to survive in any and all environments, and this superpower is known as superior adaptation. Superior adaptation basically allowed Darwin to evolve in any circumstance in order to survive, and he constantly underwent mutation in order to adapt to new environments. For instance, his body would immediately grow functioning gills if he were to travel across water, or he would instantly gain the ability to see in the dark in just a moment's time. This power also worked in space and enabled him to exist without needing oxygen, and it was so advanced that it could even turn his body fireproof if he came into contact with fire. In some situations, his intelligence and knowledge would also increase on their own. This superpower was not just limited to extreme situations, but instead it catered to him in everyday situations as well. It essentially made his life easier by giving him the inherent ability to do anything that he couldn't already do. For instance, he could also start understanding and speaking a new language if required. He did not have control over these powers, and he was not able to control these powers so that they would give him any ability that he desired. In a fight against the Hulk, Darwin could have significantly profited from gaining some extra strength, but his superior adaptation power teleported him to safety instead. As a byproduct of his mutant power, Darwin was near immortal, as he could survive in any and all conditions and avoid death forever. He even made it alive after Hela's deadly touch, and he even managed to live for 200 years inside the vault, even though time moved faster there. To some extent, Darwin had also gained the ability to protect himself by harming others around him. How did he find out about his mutant abilities? Darwin had quite a troublesome childhood because of his mutant abilities and their impact on his physical features. Around the age of 4, he turned bald and had abnormally large arms, and his father soon left him. His mother also blamed him for mutating, but Darwin tried to do anything to make her accept him. He was so determined to prove his worth to his mother that he accidentally ended up activating his mutant powers when he had to take an IQ test. Darwin hoped to get an excellent score to impress his mother, and he scored off the charts due to his special powers. He was soon sent to a prestigious boarding school, but he did still not win his mother's approval. Over time, Darwin's teachers recognized his intellect, but his peers bullied him, and once even tried to put his head in the toilet. Unsurprisingly, Darwin's powers enabled him to breathe underwater, and he then recovered from the attack and severely beat the other students. Such things continued to happen until Darwin's house was set on fire one day when his mother accidentally fell asleep with a lit cigarette in hand. Darwin rescued her and came out of the fire untouched, and that is when he finally realized that his superpowers were actually an indication of the fact that he was a mutant. Exploring some of his insane temporary adaptations. As a result of his mutant powers, Darwin had the ability to temporarily adapt to a situation and gain special powers. While there are some popular instances where he could increase his intelligence, grow gills, or turn fireproof, there are also some other situations where he underwent some insane temporary adaptations. Once, he turned his fists into stones in order to beat up his bullies, and his body had once even turned to rubber to prevent him from suffering from the impact of a fall. He had once even transferred his mind into the Vulcan when he died during the Battle of Krakoa, and his body had once even prevented him from committing suicide by becoming so soft that it bounced off the street when he fell. His body often turned to rubber when he was in grave danger, and his neck became rubbery when someone tried to attack him with a knife in Detroit. Even when someone shot a bullet or aimed an energy blast at him, Darwin's body would deflect it, digest the bullets, or even turn into a sponge to avoid any serious injuries. His body also increased his metabolism to ensure that he never got too drunk, and would also go for days without feeling thirsty or sleepy. Darwin had once turned into a death deity after he came into contact with Hela, which essentially granted him immortality. He once even grew wings when he was thrown off a mountain, and he then turned them into stone while reaching the ground. His proactive adaptation also enabled him to change others around him, and he once turned Jack Russell into a human after he had transformed him into a werewolf. Do his mutations make Darwin immortal? In the X-Factor investigation story arcs, Darwin joined the X-Factor team and even worked with them to hand Pip the troll over to Hela. They soon realized that they should not have done that, and Darwin accompanies them to find Hela and even rescue him. Darwin eventually found himself in a difficult position when he realized that the only way to defeat Hela would be by gaining her powers and then using them to destroy her. Darwin ended up taking her death powers, but this greatly affected his body to the extent that he had to leave the X-Factor. After his encounter with Hela, Darwin realized that he had even survived her death touch as a result of his mutations. In a way, his mutations certainly helped him to evade death in any near-fatal situation, such as falling to death, being caught in a fire, or even being attacked by bullets. He had once even tried to kill himself, but his mutant powers had intervened and saved his life. While this suggests that he may be immortal, fans wonder how he could be killed with ease in X-Men First Class. Fans certainly believe that his character was handled very poorly in the film, and that he should have been utilized to a greater extent. A mutant with the ability to adapt to pretty much any circumstance should be useful in such a film, but his character was instead used to show how dangerous Shaw was. Darwin's character was given a mysterious personality, and he was finally killed off in the movie when Shaw used a fireball blast to attack Darwin. The mutant soon exploded and died in the movie, and fans were quite disappointed with this, as Darwin is actually a near immortal being who has survived such attacks in the past. Can Darwin sense death? Darwin is actually a death harbinger, which essentially means that he can sense death in the future or around him. While there have been various incarnations of him as a death deity that haven't worked out, he most certainly can detect death. His body also carries Hela's darkness within him, which gives him the ability to sense it when someone seems to be taking their last breath. Did Darwin end up as a being of pure consciousness? While Darwin is an extremely powerful entity, his character did not get the justice he deserved in X-Men First Class, and fans were quite annoyed by his short role. However, X-Men Comics issue number 17 truly gave him the status he deserved and introduced him in an intriguing story arc wherein he ends up becoming a being of pure consciousness. In this storyline, Darwin accompanied Laura Kinney's Wolverine and Synch to the Vault, where time moves faster than regular Earth. He was selected to be part of this mission because he could adapt to extreme situations, but their mission did not go as planned, and Darwin was trapped with Laura in the Vault for about 200 years. While Darwin was trapped, Forge worked hard to create a suit that would protect them from the force of time in the Vault, and he attempted to rescue them. He eventually ended up falling unconscious, and he later woke up in a place that seemed to be Krakoa to him. However, he realized that he was just hallucinating all this, and Darwin then showed up in front of him and commented on how it had been a while since they had seen each other. Darwin then explained that the children of the Vault had constantly been performing experiments on his body, and that these experiments could essentially be referred to as autopsies performed on a living body. Eventually, Darwin got tired of this, and he came up with a solution. He asked the children of the Vault to look inside his brain, and he then shared a curated version of his entire life. He essentially transferred his consciousness into the Vault's computers, and then dedicated his life towards working in the Vault. He further declared that he wouldn't be returning to the regular world, and that he was still gaining a lot of knowledge by working with the children of the Vault. After giving up on his consciousness, Darwin also felt blissful without a physical body, and he seemed to have reached peace and enlightenment. He finally took his peak form after evolving his entire life, and he most definitely got a wonderful ending, unless he decides to return to the physical world one day. Can Darwin father children? While Darwin has not had any stable relationships or children so far, there is nothing that suggests that he is incapable of reproducing. He may not have any children right now, but nothing suggests that he cannot have them in the future. It would actually be quite fun to see him as a parent and see his child grow up with his powers, if Marvel ever decides to explore this possibility. Conclusion. To sum it up, Darwin is quite a powerful entity in the X-Men universe, and he also has a range of unique features that make him stand out among other mutants, ranging from his malleable physiology to his near-immortal existence. Darwin is most certainly a force of nature who wields immense power, and he even exists as a being of pure consciousness now. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks everyone!